Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks. And firstly, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever you're doing today, have a good one. But Wargaming dropped an absolute banger of a video on us yesterday, completely unexpected and unannounced. They announced their plans mostly for 2023. And while their news articles are very dry, the video is actually exceedingly entertaining. So without further ado, I want to check out about the future of World of Tanks, which seems to be being very well received so far. Now, this video has quite a catchy song, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get away with it on YouTube. So accordingly, I'm going to be watching this video dry and muted. But so many of you during my stream yesterday were asking me to be able to commentate on this, and I'm sure that a lot of you out there on YouTube will probably want me to be able to break down. So firstly, Winter Arcade, Snowballs, and Ice Age. That's already in the game. It's almost not even worth mentioning for Wargaming. Honestly, the Snowballs game mode for me is absolutely awful. It's World of Tanks lobotomized. I have no interest in playing it. Steel Hunter looks to be coming back for 2023. Again, I don't really feel like that's too much of an exciting thing. However, with bots, okay. So what are we going to do? Farm bots to be able to get stronger, to have like a way out of not actually having to take part in the early combat, which is kind of the whole point of Steel Hunter, I feel. It'll be interesting to see how the bots work out and how they get incorporated into the gameplay. And there's going to be respawning. Now that's interesting because there's already been Steel Hunter with respawning, and that was Wargaming's first go at Steel Hunt, which was inside the Rampage game mode, where you could go and pick your vehicles, go in, do as much damage as you could, and then be able to respawn in one. That was something that didn't work out 7 years ago, and really, unless Steel Hunter is incredibly rewarding, I don't think many people truly want it inside World of Tanks in 2022, let alone 2023. Respawning, Onslaught, new season approaching. Okay, so Onslaught, already done a whole video on that, about what was good, bad, and ugly. And with all due respect, I think that there was more ugly about Onslaught than there actually was good. But hopefully Wargaming are going to be able to adjust it. At least that is a huge change. Onslaught will have qualification battles, one of the most important things they could have done, to stop players from having to spend 160 wins to be able to get the rewards that they truly want from it. The qualification battles will hopefully enable the really hardcore players to not have to play and farm with all of the puppies at the beginning, because the last thing that you want if you're a casual player is to have some sweaty nerd like me having to go and play through the debutant, the iron, the bronze, the silver, the gold ranks to be able to get to where they're more likely to start to find equal competition. Mirny-13 Returns. That's an interesting one to announce because, of course, Mirny-13, I think it's a great Halloween game mode. But what is this? Is this Wargaming telling us like everything that's going to be coming up in 2023? Nearly called it 2013, goodness gracious. Right at the start of the year? Is this going to be coming for April Fools? Is it going to be coming for Halloween? Maybe it's just Wargaming creating promises for us. Are we going to see this for 10 months? Pretty interesting to be announcing content from 10 months. Maybe they really have their plan laid out for content this year. Quite promising within that regards. Okay, a new map for Frontline. All right, this is exciting. Wow, okay, so whoa, I like that with that kind of like processing plant. That looks really funky. Looks like it kind of similar to like the Craftwork map that we currently have already with the factory, right? But all in all, pretty cool. Looks like you can fight under things. New Oyster Bay Map. Now, this is nothing new, really. You'll have played it if you've played on the test server or the recon, but that could be quite funky. I really like what Wargaming did with Pearl River, and I hope that they're going to be able to do something funky with Oyster Bay as well. Okay, 8 maps are getting rebalanced. Airfield, Stajunki, Mountain Pass, Steppes, Live Oaks, Cliff, Westfield, and Mines. Oh my word. Wow, will they finally have multiple paths up to Mines? They've been trying to fix Mines, even though I personally kind of like Mines. I like the all-in aspect to the early part of the combat. They've been trying to fix Mines for years. We'll see what they're going to be doing in 2023. Right, what's up next? A new achievement system. What achievement system? Okay, looks like there's some kind of a prestige based on your battles played, the kills that you've got, your win percentage. maybe your average blocked, your average damage, and your average experience. And it looks like you're going to be able to get styles or camouflage depending on how high you can get your rating. And then you can show off your rating in the battle if you want to stand out to all of the enemy team and probably be focused as an experienced player of that tank. Okay, there's going to be an improved crew system. Oh my goodness gracious. Alarm bells are ringing because Crew 2.0 was possibly one of the most ill-conceived, biggest disasters that could have happened to World of Tanks. They've already done multiple sandboxes of Crew 2.0, and I can tell you the biggest joke would have been that this would have been like the most expensive game to play in your life, where literally people who just flash out the credit card or have insane hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours to play through each crew member would be able to have a tremendous advantage compared to everyone else. So hopefully Wargaming have made some significant improvements. Oh my goodness gracious. What do we have here? A whole set of new skills to take a look at. Oh my lord. I have to enhance this. All right, but firstly, let's see what Wargaming is presenting before I take a look at those actual skills. Okay, so this is an interesting change. Wow, Wargaming are now allowing you to have 100% crew for free. That gets a big thumbs up from me. However, if you spend credits, it looks like you're going to get half a crew skill in addition. If you spend gold, you're going to get 100% of a crew skill in addition. So there's not really too much difference there to just using a crew book, let's be honest. If you spend 2 million credits on a crew book, you're going to get 1.5 of your first skills. Looks like now when you buy a fresh crew, it's going to cost you 20,000 credits per crew member to get 50%, which really isn't a lot of experience because of the way that it's an exponential curve. All right, 1 crew, 3 tanks without penalties. I wonder if Wargaming are going to charge us gold or credits to be able to do that. It also looks like you're going to be able to amalgamate your crew members into crew books. So you're going to be able to literally do the equivalent of Pokemon candy if anyone played Pokemon Go. It was always sad to say like, oh, that's it, you're not the Bulbasaur that I wanted. I'm going to turn you into candy and feed you to my other more important Pokemon. Well, it looks like you're going to be able to do that with your crew members. Turn them into Soylent Green and be able to feed them to the rest of your crew members. Oh, that's a bit terrifying. Okay, this is interesting. Service record, vehicle handling 100%. Okay, this all looks fairly normal. And the different perks you're going to be able to have, and looks like you can reset them, although we have no idea how expensive the resetting is going to be. And that looks like that. Okay, so firstly, let me clarify. This is all subject to change, and it's probably early days yet. But if Wargaming have the confidence to be able to present us with this information, then they should also have the confidence to have it critiqued. So it looks to be in this new system, which we might as well be calling Crew 2.0, as though I'm pretty sure Wargaming won't want us to call it that. There are still going to be a certain number of crew members, a commander, a gunner, driver, a loader, and a radio operator. And each of those crew are going to be able to have 6 different skills, of which some of them are new, as we can see here. Some of them have updated and some of them have been improved. Sixth Sense, as everyone knows now, is default in World of Tanks, one of the best changes Wargaming ever made in the game. And now there are group enhancements where we have Brothers in Arms, Repairs, and Concealment, which is fairly normal. No firefighting here, though. Is it somewhere else? Oh, it's here. Firefighting is now a radio operator's job, which will definitely add some stress to someone who's already doing a lot of talking already. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Recon, nothing new. Commander skill, Jack of all trades, updated. Wow, now reduces the chance of a commander injury by 30%. Wild. Pretty much mandatory to have this tank. Mentor is now 5% more effective, or 50% more relatively effective, whichever way you want to look at it. Still probably not going to be the best thing to take for an important slot, but if you have a hyper-skilled commander, maybe that can help your other crews be able to train up quicker. Now 15% is much better than 10. Eagle Eye is new, as you have also got a Deadeye effect as well. Eagle Eye also now increases the chance of damaging modules or injuring enemy crew members by 5%. I'm pretty sure previously it was 3%. And it was a gunner skill as well as kind of the commander skill. And also you can now identify critically damaged modules on targets with a half a second delay. I'm pretty sure it was multiple seconds before. That will be, well, it's mandatory because you want to be able to damage more modules, right? Sound detection, issues and alert, blah, blah, blah. Negative stun effect 5%, okay, that has just become mandatory to have. So all of these crew skills that previously were optional are now mandatory. Practicality decreases consumable cooldown time by 15% when fully trained. Again, that's mandatory. Who the hell is not going to want to be able to use their repair kit roughly every 76.5 seconds rather than 90 seconds? You're gonna have to have it. Also, Wargaming, I'm not really sure that we should be reducing the cooldown time of repair kits and med kits already. It's already incredibly hard for artillery to be able to layer multiple stuns, and it's already ridiculously hard to be able to stop your opponents in World of Tanks with the tracking. Now, pretty much everyone who has practicality is almost going to be able to use their repair kits constantly and just go in and go in and go in and go in. It's already hard enough to be able to lock your opponents down. Let's take a look at the gunner skills. Dispersion by 15%. I believe it was 7.5% on Snapshot. That's massive for tanks with terrible turret traverse, and now it's mandatory. Double the strength of what it was before. Deadeye, okay, hold on, I'm confused. Deadeye is not the same as Eagle Eye. Okay. Deadeye increased the chance of critically damaging enemy vehicles and modules by 10%. Increase the chance of damaging modules or injuring enemy crew members by 5%. Okay, what's the difference there? I guess critically is the difference in the wording, but they both seem to be doing the same thing. So I guess we are going to be taking more module damage and losing more crew members in Crew 2.0. Designated target, completely unchanged. Armorer, okay. Hold on, reduces the random distribution of damage and penetration to plus or minus 20% when fully trained. Okay, so previously it would be 25%. Now it's going to be plus or minus 20. So that means that you're going to do less high rolls and less low rolls, both with regards to your damage and your armor pen. That means that you'll be more consistent, which will make some players more happy. One thing that's interesting is that surely everybody wants to have armorer from the penalty of the damaged gun, but maybe some people don't want to be able to reduce their RNG as well. So Wargaming, I think that has to be separated, right? It has to be separated, or just remove the penalty of the dispersion, because some people might not want to take that, who want to roll extra high or to have a little bit more RNG inside the game, but everybody would want to have the dispersion penalty there. Concentration reduces the dispersion of a stationary vehicle by 2.5% when fully trained. That's insane. That means that now you're going to be 2.5% more accurate when you're just sitting still. That's mandatory to have. 2.5% accuracy is huge. It's the equivalent of having an entire field mod on most vehicles, or having kind of half the effect of an aiming device. It's a half an equipment slot. You have to have that, especially in your big derpy tanks that are inaccurate. Quick aiming improved aim time by 2.5% when fully trained. Again, mandatory to have. That's 2 new skills that you have to have on your gunner. Clutch braking increases vehicle traverse speed, nothing new. Smooth ride 4% when on the move, nothing new. Off-road driving, nothing new there, improves your ground resistances. Preventive maintenance, when fully trained, reduces the chance of critical damage to fuel tanks by 15% and the chance by engine fire by 30%. That's mandatory to have, especially for all of you pay-to-win players out there like me who do not use fire extinguishers. And also, that is huge for vehicles that lose their fuel tanks and their engines a lot. I'm looking at you, Chinese, Soviet, and German tanks. Controlled impact has been updated. So now it increases the ramming damage by 15 and reduces the ramming damage by 15. Nothing new there, but it also decreases ramming damage to your suspension by 50%. Okay, engineer, what's this? Increases engine power by 5%, adding 1 kilometer of maximum speed to both forward and reverse speed. Are you kidding me, Wargaming? Are you kidding me? Like we need the game to get faster. This is mandatory on every single vehicle. Who doesn't want to have 5% engine power? Who doesn't want to go 1 kilometer an hour faster forwards and backwards? That means that now a mouse is going to be able to go at, I guess, 28 or 29 kilometers an hour, whereas previously it wasn't able to do so. All of these skills are mandatory to be able to have. Adrenaline rush, nothing really new here. Vehicles hit points less than 10%. Safe stowage, nothing really new there. Intuition, nothing new there. Gorilla, what's this? When fully trained, increases vehicle concealment after a shot by 10% and concealment behind vegetation by 2%. What? Imagine that on an E25. It's going to be so broken. An E25 might actually be able to achieve nearly 30% camo with this ability. Also, mandatory for every vehicle. Concealment behind vegetation by 2%. You're going to want to have that. But on every single one of your vehicles. Close combat, when fully trained, accelerates gun loading by 2.5% at distances of 50 meters or less from the enemy. Okay, mandatory for pretty much every single vehicle to have. I mean, just imagine that on a tortoise or a badger. It's 2.5%. You've got to have it. Shell tuning decreases the lower threshold of damage dispersion and armor penetration by 2% when fully trained. Hold on. So you're telling me it's just going to increase the lower threshold, aka the minus 25% up to, I don't know, minus 23%, so you can never min roll anymore effectively with this? That's just an overall damage increase, my math's probably awful, of what, 1%? Because obviously if your spread was like this and then you decrease like the lower, then overall your damage is going to be going up because you're no longer able to get those minus 25% rolls. You can only get minus 23% rolls. Also, how will this work when you also use it with the armor ability? I guess now if you combine it with the armor ability, that will mean that you can only do plus 20% or minus 18% if you have those 2%. So that might actually make armor up more attractive from that perspective if it scales with the shell tuning. Again, that is mandatory to have on all of your tanks. I want to fire 1% faster. It's crazy. Wargaming adding in more mechanics that just differentiate between players. And all of these, I'm going to have, I guess, a 6-skill crew on every single one of my tanks. Situational awareness, nothing new. Teamwork increases the signal range of allied vehicles within your radio by 10%. If the distance to an ally is 100% or less, the major qualifications of all of your crew members increase by 5%. Hold on. Major qualifications. So that's that raw skill. So that's the equivalent of Brothers in Arms. That's the equivalent of Brothers Arms, unless I'm mistaken. Yes, major qualifications by 5% when trained for all crew members. However, this teamwork will be like Brothers in Arms whenever you're within 100 meters of an ally. So that's 5% crew skill, which is 2.5% overall effectiveness of your tank. So whenever you're within 100 meters, you're going to fire 2.5% faster. You're going to be 2.5% more accurate. You're going to be able to see 2.5% further. You're going to have 2.5% better concealment and ground resistances and traverse speed and everything. That's insane. You have to have that on all of your vehicles. Call for Vengeance. So now it also reduces your radio operator's injury by 30%. I guess that's not really still mandatory, but still useful to not have to waste the medkit if you ever need to heal that radio operator. But more importantly, if your radio operator gets knocked out, do all of the crew skills continue to function? If they don't, then that means that you're going to have that. Firefighting as well, 80%. It's kind of nice to have it on the radio operator, I'm not going to lie. But it does pose another question, and that is, what happens to tanks that don't have a radio operator? Or what happens to tanks that don't have a loader? Or even, what happens to tanks that don't have a gunner, a loader, or a radio operator? I'm looking at you, Manticore. Are all of these crew skills going to have to be handled by all of the other crew members? Hopefully Wargaming will make it so that if a commander has multiple roles, they can select multiple crew skills depending on how experienced they are. Because if they incorporate this game will become unplayable for certain tanks that have low amounts of crew members. Jamming, when fully trained, reduces the time your vehicle is visible by the enemy by 1 second. Again, completely mandatory. You must have this on every single one of your vehicles. That 1 second can be the difference between that opponent managing to track the extra shot off to have that 1 second extra of time to aim at you, or that 1 second for you to be able to adjust your maneuvers to be able to get out of harm's way. And Comms Expert, when fully trained, improves the major qualifications of all crew members by 2.5%. If the amount assisted damage exceeds the standard durability of your vehicle, increases radio and signal range by 20%. Okay, so that will basically turn light tanks later on in the game into insane 2.5% more crew skill, which is 1.25% more view range, 1.25% more camo and rate of fire and accuracy and aim time and all of that vehicles. This was already in Crew 2.0, and I can tell you it was stupid because the tanks like the EBR 105 are not meant to be able to get like 480 meters view range. Tanks like the Sheridan with a commander's vision system are not meant to be able to get like 500 meters view range or 550 meters view range. Wargaming, this is going to have profound and incalculable, like it's almost unpredictable impacts on your game in so many areas. Just from what I see alone, there's 5% more crew skill here. There's 2.5% more crew skill here. That alone is 7.5% crew skill just because you have a trained up radio operator. What's terrifying about this is, sure, I guess what Wargaming are thinking is, oh well, everyone's going to like grind down their crew members into Soylent Green, feed them up to their other crew members, and then train them for 3 different tanks. So you'll have to have like one commander for tier 10, 9, and 8. Hopefully, if all of your vehicles actually have the same kind of crew skill loadouts. And quite often, for example, you don't want to have the same crew skills in your T57 Heavy as what you do in your T54E1 and your T69, for an example. And then be able to have like mega crews in every single one of your vehicles. So I guess you're going to have 6 skill crews, and I don't know how Brothers in Arms is going to go, and it still says when fully trained for all crew members. So does that mean that we now need 7 skill crews? Is repair still going to be that? Is concealment still going to be there? Does that mean that we now need 9 skill crews to be even remotely competitive in the game? Because I can tell you, every single one of these crew skills has been buffed to the point where it is now practically mandatory, whereas previously they were all kind of a little bit of fun. Take Eagle Eye, for example. Previously, Eagle Eye was a commander skill that you might take once you've kind of got up to the 6 or 7 crew skill mark, but it wasn't really too much of a big deal, because all it did really was tell you when your opponents were damaged. It didn't do anything raw. It didn't give you any raw statistics that actually made you just clearly better in every single situation. Now Eagle Eye will be able to just damage your opponent more with more crits, and maybe you're going to get Amarax more. Maybe you're going to be able to knock out their engine more. Maybe you're going to be able to disable one of their crew members more, that then you can be able to press the attack. So now that crew skill has gone from being kind of just a little bit of a fun optional thing to now being something that you have to have in all your vehicles. Look at sound detection, for example. This was only a crew skill that was really useful, in my opinion, for players who were kind of a little bit lazy, or players who were deaf and couldn't actually hear when the enemy artillery were firing at them. Now it's going to be mandatory to have, because of course you want to reduce the negative stun effect. That negative stun effect pretty much increases your reload, I believe, by the 25 or 50%. If you can reduce that by 5%, maybe you're going to be able to get that extra shot in. Maybe you're going to have to not use your medkit on stuns so much anymore. All of these crew skills, as well as also having this one. This is a brand new crew skill, which you're going to have if you want to actually be able to be competitive inside the game. 2 new crew skills here. Who doesn't want to be 2.5% more accurate? Who doesn't want to have 2.5% better aim time? And these are 2 new crew skills to add on to an already pressured role. Now, Wargaming will argue that they've kind of combined the effects of some abilities. One of the biggest pieces of feedback, I think, from the community of Crew 2.0 was that as it stands in World of Tanks, you only really need like a 3 skill crew or a 4 skill crew to be at optimum competitive nature inside the game. Think about a commander. A commander pretty much needs Brothers in Arms, recon, and then probably concealment and repairs on your medium tanks, or just repairs on your heavy tanks. Now, my commander is definitely going to need recon, definitely going to need jack of all trades because I don't want them to get knocked out as much. Definitely going to need to have Eagle Eye because I want to do more critical damage. Definitely going to need to have sound detection because I want to get stunned less. And it almost mandatory needs to have practicality because I want to be able to use my repair kits and med kits every 76 seconds rather than 90 seconds. And that's excluding, you know, having Brothers in Arms and repairs on all of your crew as well. So what is the new standard? Is the new standard to have like a 6 skill crew or a 7 skill crew? I am very worried about this. And also with Wargaming just buffing up the crew skills as well, this looks like a nightmare patch. This will completely break the game for players who have incredibly skilled crews. And look, here's the biggest issue. I don't just think for now. I think about the future of World of Tanks, which is surely what the whole video is meant to be about. This will be okay for all of you out there who, you know, you grind down your crews. Where was the crew grinding experience? Here we go. This part. It's okay for me. I could just be like, oh yeah, this is really good. Good idea. Because I've got hundreds of crews, if not thousands of... I've actually got thousands of crew members, and I'm going to be able to grind them all down into crew books to be able to then feed to create mega crews and then be able to use them on all of the different vehicles. But what will future players be able to do? What will future players be able to do? How will they ever catch up to a 10-year whale like me, who has been there, who has 80,000 games, who has now managed to get insane crew members across the entire board? How will a new player come into the game and actually be able to compete? You'll never be able to catch up again. You can't catch up on 80,000 games of World of Tanks played without a huge amount of time, no life, or, let's be honest, a lot of money, a lot of opportunities to be able to play your premium tanks with insane boosters on insane events and just feel that pressure to grind and that fear of missing out. This is a complete and utter disaster that is impending to the game. And while I could sit here very happily and just brush it all under the carpet, because I know I'm the biggest whale, I know I'm going to have my 6 skill crews in every single one of my vehicles and drive around the battlefield like some god tier behemoth of industry with every single advantage and just having more crew skill than everybody else. Literally, I'm just going to be better just because of my crews and not because of me as a player. I could sit here and not talk about it, but I could never recommend somebody starting playing World of Tanks in 2023 if Wargaming implement things like this. But Wargaming, I beg you, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Incorporate this system in a fair way that will not only appeal to your players who have been playing for 10 years, but also, let's be honest, be fair for players who are just hopefully starting their adventure in World of Tanks in 2023. So let's continue the video. So final moment camera. Oh my goodness. How could anyone not want that feature? How can the best feature be given the least possible time? Oh my lord, look at it. Okay, let's slow it down. You know, whatever, I can actually slow it down. Let's slow down the playback speed because I got so much to talk about here. Not this part. This part. Okay, so you're coming around the corner, you fire, you bounce, you get destroyed. That is the World of Tanks way. Previously, I'd use battle hits to see how I got destroyed in the garage, but it's clunky. Now you can actually see the armor, I guess the penetration and the shell caliber there. You can actually see, you can see what shell they fired and you can see what the caliber of the gun was. And then you can see the effective penetration. So has it actually hit the gun there? Okay, no, it hasn't hit the gun, it's hit the lower plate. So it shows what the relative armor is, which is also including the angling, which is pretty cool, and then the effective penetration. So I guess Wargaming will be able to finally explain all of those results. I wonder if it will do ricochets when it goes off the hull and up into the turret ring. That'll be pretty exciting. Okay, so next up, there's vehicle rebalancing. And this is also an important one to pause because I can take a look at all the vehicles. I see a Centurion. I see a Czech medium. I see an IS-3. I see a Rinoceronte. I see a 110. I see an E-50M. I see the Batchat. I see French tank destroyers. I see Chinese mediums. So all of these vehicles look like they're going to get buffed. So that should be exciting news. Hopefully they're not going to get nerfed though. That'd be a bit shocking. And what have we got next? Next up, we've got Japanese heavies and Japanese mediums by the looks of it. Wow. So I was told that these are already on Blitz, I think. So maybe they've already been well tested. That'll be a pretty exciting development to have in World of Tanks. So we've got 2 new Japanese tech trees coming up. And what's this? All right, I feel like I've got to put the playback into regular speed for this because look at these new mechanics. Pop, 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 pop. Yeah. And it looks like it's got an overheat bar instead of like a reload system. So while this is pretty crazy and it's pretty exciting, when we think about it, that overheat bar, it's not really too different to, for example, just an autoloader reloading, right? I mean, is this really that different? Looks like it's done 200, 300, 400, 500 damage, and that's shooting what looks like an E-50M. Is that really that different to the Char 75, which just went into the game, which goes pow, 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 you know, and does 600 damage, and then it's got 2 mags? I guess the advantage of this is that it'll be really interesting to see how Wargaming incorporate the heat dispersion, the way that the heat disperses, whether it will take longer if you max it out and if you need to stop firing before it stops you firing with regards to it getting too hot, whether it'll just be like a constant reduction. Because if it's a constant reduction, you might be able to like tap like that and not go all the way and then like unleash. So that could be pretty funky. It'd also be very interesting to see how this works with, let's say that you're in an autoloader currently and you fired off your shells. Now you got like a 30-second reload. And you know, it's so annoying when that tank comes around the corner on low health. Will you have to fully cool down with this before you can go again? Or can you just fire even when the gun is kind of like half heated to be able to finish off that low health tank? Or this will also stop you, I guess, from getting some bad RNG with a low roll or a ricochet, or maybe you just misaimed and you've overheated your gun. Well, you're going to be able to, like an auto reloader, kind of just let it cool down just a little bit to be able to deliver another one of those shells. So pretty wild stuff there. And exciting for the future of World of Tanks. Okay, recon mission, new launches. Wow, night maps. Wow, that's something that everyone's always asked for in World of Tanks. But I wonder if it's just going to be visual or if it's also going to like affect tanks. Like, here's the thing. I've always wanted night maps. Maybe it will reduce everybody's view range by a fixed amount. And if it does, or maybe everyone's camo increases, it will allow people to play the map in a more sneaky fashion, which will be very interesting. One thing that I've always wanted as well is if they were to do like a winter map, maybe if they do a winter map, it reduces people's traction, makes the terrain more slippy. Or maybe there's kind of like rain, and if it's rainy, then maybe everyone's ground resistances get slightly worse, and so everyone will be slower on the battlefield. It'd be a good opportunity to add more variety into the game, but it will also make it quite complicated from that perspective. All right, dynamic water. That's pretty funky. So that will have massive implications for, you know, at the start of the battle, you can't cross. Later on in the battle, maybe you can cross. And the interesting thing about that is that the game is getting faster and faster and faster, no doubt. And obviously with things like this going into the game, where everyone's engine power is about to get 5% better and everyone goes 1 kilometer an hour faster forwards and backwards, it's going to get even faster still. No surprise there. But what this might do is make some parts of the map inaccessible early to those really fast tanks, but then later on, maybe there'll be shortcuts in the map that you can be able to try and take advantage of. What it will also enable is stopping those insanely quick vehicles from taking those really important positions early, and then have kind of like a catch-up mechanic where the mediums and the slower heavies will have more of an opportunity to do so. So exciting stuff there and great possibilities for wargaming. What's this? Dynamic objects? Okay, a boat is going to crash. A plane is going to crash. Okay, so obviously from a visual perspective, quite impressive. However, I'm more interested in the gameplay perspective. So what does this mean? This means that, does this destroy all of the tanks that are underneath it? So does that mean you have to get out of the way? Or does it block certain parts of the map later on in the battlefield so they're no longer traversable? When you have a plane crash on Prokhorovka here, does that mean that now you can hide behind the debris? And is everyone going to be able to then use that later on in the battle to be able to advance and have safety? So can you imagine Prokhorovka, where later on in the battle, a plane has crashed, and now suddenly the medium tanks and the heavy tanks actually have opportunities to advance without just getting absolutely nailed in the front? So that will kind of force the light tanks to have to play earlier on in the game, and then if the light tanks can't break the stalemate, give the opportunity to the mediums and the heavy tanks to start to advance and try to brawl it out. Again, I'm just guessing. Maybe it's just going to be a visual thing that looks cool rather than actually having implementing effect on the gameplay. But hopefully Wargaming can do something with it to add more spice. And so there we go. World of Tanks in 2023. And I guess what's exciting about this part as well, I can't really get rid of all of these bloody overlays, is that one of my viewers pointed out yesterday that this looks very similar to Wargaming's Object 780 release, where all of the vehicles had unique tags depending on the number that they were purchased. And they also suggested to me that the back of this vehicle looks a little similar to a lion. However, I'm not sure whether this is one of those kind of hopeful things inside World of Tanks. So we're just going to have to wait and see whether that is actually the case. Does this confirm that 2023 will bring back the assembly shop and give us another tank to get? So I thoroughly recommend that you save up some blueprints, you save up some free experience, as the last one cost about 500,000 roughly, if you want to be able to get one of those. And I expect that Wargaming do like to be able to get you to spend your free XP, because a lot of people do convert, and it's a way for them to be able to get gold out of the system. So more details in February. This is obviously, so many things in here are really awesome. And there's only one that really concerns me, and that is the crew system. Wargaming, I implore you, do not rush this into the game. And Wargaming, please consider the implications of a system like this for your future possible growth and your marketability of World of Tanks to new players. Because it's one thing about having kind of like the Soylent Green effect of melting down our crew members to create one super crew and then using it in multiple vehicles. And it's another thing about how our new players and how are the casual players ever going to be able to get those super crews to be able to compete with sweaty nerds like me. I don't want to kill this game just to give myself superpowers. And I really hope the community will join me in that sentiment. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was it for the future of World of Tanks in 2023. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought about the video. Do you think that all the features look awesome? Do you think all the features look awful? What do you think about the crew system? Do you think that it has a lot of very concerning features? Or do you think that it's something to celebrate? And do you think the system looks better in its place? And if you like this video and you liked my breakdown, give it a thumbs up. But if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And once again, I'd like to finish the video saying, have a wonderful, happy holiday season. Spend as much of it with your friends and family as possible. And I am, taking the next couple of days to chill out. And I would already be chilling out if it wasn't for Wargaming possibly dropping one of the biggest bombshells of new content on us in World of Tanks history. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.